me give a simple example. When somebody does something to you, right? There's a certain feeling that comes up. Be honest with me. Like if a woman speaks to you in a certain way, or a colleague or somebody drives you in a certain way, there's a certain feeling that you have. You need to stop and interrogate that feeling. Why am I feeling this way? Where does it come from? As a Satan. Has got nothing to do with the devil. You have to tell where does this thing come from? Then you start to realize, oh my goodness, this thing comes from my childhood. Toy, kakwata. Now this person who hanaga something kakwata, is that still child who needs to be addressed? So you need to have an internal journey to go and rescue that toddler, that you. O sa batleng ho hola. Right? Now, in a relationship, as fathers, let me try to speak about fathers, because I'm just jumping all over the place now, because I'm trying to cover a lot of areas. You cannot lead in your family before you lead yourself. Right? The first L on your lead is to lead yourself. And how do you lead yourself? You lead yourself through self-control. That's how you lead yourself. Right? You lead your appetites. Your appetite for food. And that's where fasting comes in. Fasting basically does not change God. It does not move God. Fasting moves you from your toddlerhood to your manhood. That's what fasting does. Right? So, would be arrested, and in prison, if I cannot control appetite, they will end up and because now you want their food. And then you automatically turn yourself into a girl by doing that. So if you can hold yourself for 5 days or such, then you can survive. So fasting assists you to control your appetites. All right? Your sexual appetites. Some of us, we appear holy, but watch pornography. You can't control yourself. You can't control that appetite for sex. Right? Your appetite for food. Right? You go to a function, it's a long queue, you're the first on the queue, and it's a plate. It shows that you can't control your appetite. You are not leading where appetite is concerned. That's where it starts. Right? You can't lead yourself where movies are concerned. The movie the whole day. You don't even have time for you now to say, okay, let me develop myself. You can't control that appetite. The appetite for fun, for nice time. You can't. So you're not leading. So if you can't lead that space, meaning you can't even lead your home. Because leadership starts from within. Leading your thoughts. Anger. Anger comes from, it's a neutral emotion. It comes from the interpretation you give to a statement or a certain behavior. If but if same event, same activity, right? Same activity. So the meaning you interpret. That is why when okay, excuse me, brother. When somebody said Papa Hoka and then that's that child in you that needs to mature. So there's certain things that women will say or do, and then it will make us angry because of the meaning we attach to their statements or their behavior. But truth be told, if you could just look at her as a child, that makes you a bigger person, then you will treat it differently. If it was your daughter saying the same thing that your wife is saying, you'll be laughing. But you're angry because it's your wife. Or your partner, for that matter, or your colleague. Are we together? If you drive to a mall and you find that the last parking spot that's closer to the door is demarcated for people with disabilities, you pass without even grumbling in your heart. But if you are disabled and the wheelchair is in the boot and the other car, the wheelchair is on top of the car, you'll fight for that spot because you are both disabled. What am I saying? If you and your partner are disabled emotionally, you'll constantly fight. You are both on wheelchairs emotionally or financially, right? Or spiritually. It depends. Are we together? So now, in every person, remember when I laid the foundation here, I said we grew up in a female environment. So our female energy has crossed the 50% mark. So we could be functioning 40% or 40-something percent of our masculinity, which makes us not be able to make decisions, right? So a healthy masculinity has to be around 80. Then it allows the 20% femininity to play with the children, to assist them get homework, to assist your wife while she's cooking. There's that 20%. You need it. You need it. If you have 100% masculinity, it becomes toxic. It requires at least that 20% or 15 of femininity so that you may be able to connect with her, show emotions, comfort her, cuddle with her, play with the kids. You need that 20% or 15% of your feminine energy, right? And when we get married, we are attracted by the feminine energy. That's what attracts us. Okay? So when we get married, you require that woman to come with her 80% of the feminine energy, with a 20% of masculinity for doing business, for going to work. Because remember, the masculine energy is for hunting, is for doing business, right? Is for reaching out there in the jungle, which is the business space or the work environment. So a woman requires that 20% of, masculinity so that she can engage where work is concerned. And also what raises the masculine energy in a woman is when she feels unsafe or unprotected. Then it pushes her into a protective mode. That mode pushes her automatically into her masculine because she has it, right? And there's just a whole lot of components that affects that. Sometimes it could be her upbringing. Maybe she was bullied or she was molested or she grew up in a home where there were only men, and she actually nurtured her masculinity. Then some of them bargaining tomboys or whatever, but it's that energy, right? Or let's say in a home where there was a business and the father will push them to do business. So it raises that energy in them. Okay. Now you get married to this woman. You are in your divine masculinity, 2080 masculinity. How? Then you marry this woman who comes from a family where she was developed to be a man. Or professions like being a traffic cop, a police, soldiers. For women, it pushes that energy. They start to behave as men. Then you are married to this woman. Then there's going to be constant arguments, fights, conflicts, because now these are two energies now. Masculine energy in the same home. So there's going to be constant fights, conflicts, because it's two men in the same house. So what will happen is, and part 2 has mentioned it, either this man, he will shut down. When he shuts down, he falls into his feminine energy. And it's easy. It's a familiar space because we grew up from there. We were born